Complete lore of Hey Arnold. I don't know about you, but I used to love this series as a kid. And for those who are not familiar with Hey Arnold, the show centers on fourth grader Arnold Shortman, who lives with his grandparents in an inner city tenement in the fictional city of Hillwood, Washington. Episodes explore his experiences navigating urban life while dealing with the zany hijinks he and his friends encounter. Many episodes, however, focus on other characters, including major, secondary, supporting, and even minor characters. Production on the show concluded on December 7th, 2001, after 5 seasons and 100 episodes. In this video, I will give you a quick rundown of the entire series so that you get to relive the nostalgia one more time. If you enjoy the content, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more such cartoon awesomeness.
Very badly.
Season 1, Episode 1, Downtown as Fruits, Eugene's Bike. Arnold and the crew are gearing up for this play Helga cooked up. It's all about food groups, which, let's be real, is already a boring but the real kicker. Arnold gets stuck as a banana. Gerald, poor guy, he's the strawberry. Dignity, out the window. Fast forward to show night. The boys, still rocking their fruity get-ups, hop on the bus. But Gerald's not having it. He's like, "What is we forget to pull the cord of the bus and miss our stop?" Tempting fate. Arnold, ever the good kid, hesitates, but then he remembers Helga roasting them all week during rehearsals and figures. Why not? At the last second, Arnold does not pull the cord of the bus and decides to get off at the next stop. Meanwhile, Helga's at PS 118, mid-lecture, and gets word her fruit stars have ghosted. She absolutely loses it. Back to Arnold and Gerald. They're stranded downtown, still looking like a walking produce aisle. They try to call for backup, but the payphone's busted. Turns out Gerald didn't even wear clothes under his costume, so he's stuck as a strawberry for life apparently. Just as they're about to spiral, some car screeches up and tosses them a bag full of cash. These kids think they hit the jackpot and start blowing money like it's nothing. New clothes and food. But the things is that bag was meant for 2 other dudes dressed as banana and strawberry. Those guys show up, find their cash gone, and, well, let's just say they're not thrilled. All the while, Helga's back at school doing damage control, stalling, basically sweating bullets. She tries to keep her play alive, but you can see she's freaking out, especially because deep down, she actually cares about Arnold. She has this whole dramatic moment with his picture, gets all mushy, then Brainy pops up, breathing like a creep as usual, but she decks him. Eventually, Arnold and Gerald's luck runs out. The banana and strawberry goons track them down at some seedy pool hall. Big chase scene, and they duck into a psychic palace called Zamboni Jnes. The psychic tells them their karma's busted. Gerald thinks maybe it's Helga, but Arnold's got that hero complex and realizes they messed up everyone's play. Cue the guilt trip. On their way back, they run into a family with a busted car and, in a fit of generosity, hand over the leftover cash. Meanwhile, the real crooks get caught. Back at school, Helga's about to throw in the towel and cancel the fruit scene when Arnold and Gerald burst in, costumes and all. They hit the stage, nail their number, and basically save Helga's skin. Curtain drops. Everyone's relieved. Eugene's Bike is the second segment of the first episode of the first season. Arnold's zoning out again. Gerald's got to yank him back to earth as they hustle to school. And man, school's in peak gross-out mode. Kids are showing off jars of worms and peeling scabs for fun. The vibe does a total 180 when Eugene, king of dorky optimism, rolls in on this shiny, tricked-out bike. Brand new, even. Apparently, his family gives Flag Day gifts. Kinda weird, kinda adorable. Fast forward, and Arnold, in true Arnold fashion, manages to set off a bike rack chain reaction while tying his shoelaces. Eugene's pride and joy, his new bike, gets launched into traffic and obliterated by a street sweeper. Arnold's mortified, tries to apologize, but Eugene does not take it very well. Feeling like the universe's biggest jerk, Arnold spends the night patching up the mangled bike. Next morning, he surprises Eugene with the fixed ride. And for a second, you think, wow, maybe things are looking up? Nope. Turns out Arnold forgot the brake cable. Eugene takes off, bike crumbles like a cheap lawn chair, and he's wrecked into a car door. Hospital time. Arnold visits, tries to cheer him up, but ends up launching Eugene across the room in his hospital bed. Then, on his way out, Arnold knocks down the room number sign, which somehow leads to doctors mixing up patients and yanking out Eugene's tonsils and spleen. Could this get any worse? Arnold, now basically convinced he's Eugene's personal curse, promises to give him the perfect day. Spoiler, it's a disaster parade. On the way to a baseball game, Eugene plummets into a sewer. At the game, gets a home run ball to the face. Lunch? He chokes on a hot dog. Arnold saves him, only for a flying hot dog chunk to nail him in the eye. Later, Eugene falls in a river and baths on a boat. But even after all that, Eugene claims it's one of the best days he's ever had. As he's getting on the bus, door slams his cast, and his favorite baseball card drops out. Arnold grabs it, promises to return it, and you just know Eugene's streak of bad luck is far from over. Episode 2, The List/Haunted Train. It's the weekend, and Arnold's buddies are just kicking back. But Arnold's dreams of doing everything mentioned in the legendary list, like cartoon marathons, 3 bowls of sugar chunks for breakfast, bike down the steepest hill in town, and basically trying to befriend every single kid in the park. He even plans to watch the same movie 3 times in a row. Of course, the universe laughs in his face right out the gate. Alarm clock is toast. So he wakes up late, and the cartoons are already halfway over. Kitchen situation, no sugar chunks. Milk's gone nasty. TV, Grandpa manages to destroy it in a way that probably defies science. Does it get better outside? Not a chance. There's literally a piano jammed in his doorway thanks to some movers. Arnold's climbing out windows just to escape his own house. He finally hits the park, and some kid named Steve steals his ball. Still clinging to his bucket list, he grabs his bike and heads to the mother of all hills, only to get his wheels glued to the street by fresh tar. By now you'd think the universe would cut him some slack, but nah, last stop's the movie theatre. Except, plot twist, his cash has fallen right out of a hole in his pocket. He tries sneaking in, gets lost behind the screen, and then the film tears. Theatres shut down. Curtain call for Arnold. He's done. Arnold drags himself to the boarding house roof, crumples up his dream list, and sends it flying off as a paper airplane. Grandma's up there too, with the piano. She clocks his sad sack face, whips out a happy tune, and, right on cue, a clown van crashes nearby, launching a cloud of balloons into the sky. Weirdly perfect. Arnold can't help but grin. He pulls out his harmonica, jams along with Grandma, and you know what? For a weekend that went so wrong, it kinda ends up feeling just right. Arnold and Gerald, bored out of their minds after exhausting literally every game they own, suddenly perk up when Grandpa starts spinning this wild story about the haunted train. Apparently there's this old engine 25, and its engineer, dude just lost it 40 years back, drove the train straight into hell, and now he supposedly comes back every year, blazing lights, reeking of brimstone, creepy music, to scoop up new passengers for a one-way ticket to the underworld. Oh, and guess what? Tonight just happens to be the 40th anniversary. Helga doesn't believe it, but Arnold eggs her on, so she shows up with them at the sketchy old Union Station after dark. The kids are restless, probably half hoping nothing happens, and then, boom, Engine 25 screeches in like a scene out of a horror movie. They pile on, doors slam shut, and suddenly they're living Grandpa's ghost story. Nasty sulfur smells, weird polka music, and lights flickering like crazy. Then Helga legit freaks when she feels someone breathing down her neck. Turns out, just brainy. Being his typical creeper self, they boot him off the train, no hesitation. The train barrels into flames of the underworld, and Arnold tries to douse the Demon Lord with a fire hose. Turns out the Demon Lord was just a simple engineer, and they were at a steelworks. The stink? Just part of the factory. The lights? Faulty wiring. Even the creepy music is just the engineer jamming out to polka. They make it back to Grandpa, who's definitely looking a little too pleased with himself. Arnold's got his suspicions about the whole setup. But just when you think it's all over, there's this one last spooky flash of Engine 25. Like maybe, just maybe, the legend isn't totally fake after all. Episode 3, Operation Ruthless/The Vacant Lot. Arnold and Gerald roll up to this cheese fair, where Phoebe's busy filling Helga in on some local weirdness, apparently. If you spin around with Swiss cheese and peep through the holes, fate will kindly show you your true love. Helga, as usual, is all eye rolls and attitude, but she gives it a shot and she sees Arnold. Who else? Meanwhile, Arnold's got his own drama brewing. He spots Ruth and immediately turns into a lovesick puppy. Helga, for like half a second, thinks Arnold's swooning over her, but then reality smacks her upside the head when she realizes it's Ruth he's pining for. Cue the classic Helga rage spiral, jealousy, scheming. Later that night, Arnold's getting ready for his big moment with Ruth. He's psyching himself up, practicing a simple high. Gerald's playing hype man, but keeping it chill. Meanwhile, Helga is on full villain mode, dragging poor Phoebe along for Operation Ruthless. First attempt? She tries to trip Arnold when he tries to offer Ruth a cheese kebab. Next, he follows Ruth into the Hall of Mirrors. Helga can't help but roast his hopeless crush, only to get jump-scared by Brainy's reflection. Naturally, she decks him. Classic Helga. Then, they hit the bumper cars. Helga's got this genius plan to stick Ruth in car number 4, which had a problem with its accelerator. Somehow, she and Phoebe end up in it instead, and they crash into a food stand. That's karma doing its thing. Finally, there's the Tunnel of Love fiasco. Boys and girls are supposed to get paired up, but Helga's barreling through the line like a linebacker. Arnold, desperate not to get stuck with her, tries to back out, which causes total chaos. The fence literally comes down as everyone scrambles. Once the dust settles, we've got Gerald and Phoebe together, Sid with Ruth, Arnold somehow riding with his grandma in disguise, and Helga, poor soul, stuck with Brainy. He tries to get cozy. Bad move, buddy. She socks him right into the water. As the night winds down, Arnold admits to Gerald that, weirdly, not talking to Ruth just makes him like her even more. Helga, meanwhile, is left stewing by herself. The fair's winding down, lights are going out, and she's realizing that all her Operation Ruthless nonsense just left her feeling even worse. Yeah, not her best night. Arnold and Gerald are just fed up with trying to play baseball in the street. I mean, every 5 seconds, some car comes rolling through and messes up the game. Total buzzkill. So, these two geniuses go wandering off, hoping to find literally anywhere better. And what do they stumble onto? An abandoned lot. Not exactly Yankee Stadium, more like a landfill with bonus rats. But they see potential. They round up the crew, grab whatever brooms and garbage bags they can find, and clean up the place. Before you know it, the dump transforms into a legit baseball field. They're pumped, they call it Gerald Field, and finally get to play without dodging traffic. And then the adults show up. Grandpa, Mr. Green, Mrs. Vitello, Mr. Hyun, and Susie. They basically roll in like, "Thanks for the free real estate, kids," and take over the field. Next day, Arnold and the gang show up, ready for round 2. But the adults aren't budging. They want the lot for gardening, yoga, who knows what else. Sharing, not happening. The kids try to play around them, but it's a disaster. Eventually they get booted out completely, forced to squeeze into some dinky alleyway for their game. Understandably, they're steaming. Meanwhile, the grown-ups can't agree on anything. It's chaos. The kids watch this whole circus, and honestly, they've had enough. So they do something kinda savage. They dump all the trash back onto the field. If the adults want it so bad, they can have it as they had found it. Cue the guilt trip. The adults realize they've been jerks, so they pull together and clean up the lot, this time for real. They rebuild the field, everyone's happy, and they even play a game together. Well, until Grandpa loses it over Mr. Hyun shouting, "Play ball," like he's auditioning for an echo chamber. Episode 4, 6th grade girls / the baseball. Arnold and Gerald are hanging out at the public pool when they notice Connie and Maria, these older girls who look way out of their league. Of course, the guys immediately start wondering if they've got a shot. Connie and Maria basically write them off as little dorks, but they admit Arnold and Gerald seem nicer than their own boyfriends, Tommy and Bert. Those two are up on the high dive, making fools of themselves. Real charmers. Then Tommy and Bert go and soak the girls with a cannonball or something, which doesn't go over so well. Connie and Maria, clearly fed up, decide to get a little payback. They invite Arnold and Gerald to this school dance just to mess with their boyfriends. Arnold and Gerald, who are probably about as nervous as cats in a dog park, agree, but not before pretending they're in 6th grade. Gerald, being the hype man he is, digs up a trunk full of his dad's disco gear and finds this ridiculous book called Cool Moves for Happening Dudes. He talks Arnold into sticking with the plan, even though Arnold's got that I shouldn't have lied face on. Anyway, they spend who knows how long practicing dance moves and picking out the most blinding outfits possible. Fast forward to dance night. They've got to deal with Maria's dad, who's got that "don't mess with my daughter" vibe. Awkward. They're broke, of course, but Maria covers the cab. At the dance, Tommy and Bert see their girlfriends with these little dudes and are not thrilled. But Connie and Maria stick up for Arnold and Gerald, then drag them onto the dance floor. The guys bust out their disco moves. Honestly, they're killing it. And the whole place is kinda impressed. Of course, drama isn't over. While the girls are off somewhere, Tommy and Bert corner Arnold and Gerald outside, ready to pound them. The girls show up just in time, shut it down, and basically tell their boyfriends to get lost. Then comes the truth bomb. Connie and Maria only invited Arnold and Gerald to make their own boyfriends jealous. Still, they tell the boys they're sweet and way nicer than most guys their age. As a thank you, the girls each plant a kiss on the boys' cheeks, leaving lipstick marks. Arnold and Gerald are basically walking on air as Connie and Maria head off, grinning like they just won the lottery. Arnold and his friends were playing baseball when Arnold steps up and smacks Harold's pitch like it's a total rocket. You can see he's feeling it too, and he admits he's channeling his all-time hero, Mickey Kaline, the kind of sports legend your grandpa won't shut up about. Most of the crew's already heard Arnold go on about Mickey a million times, but he can't help himself. Launches into this trivia rant that even makes Gerald roll his eyes so hard you could hear it. Fast forward, Arnold's at home, glued to the TV with Ernie and Mr. Green, only to get slapped with some heartbreaking news. Mickey's on a slump, and tomorrow might be his last game. Gutted, Arnold's like, "No way I'm missing this. I gotta see him." So he starts counting his dog-washing cash, but not even close. Thankfully, Grandpa's got a soft spot and accidentally sneaks $50 instead of $5 into Arnold's stash. Kids over the moon grabs Gerald, and they snag some dirt-cheap tickets. Only problem? Out in the nosebleeds, practically need binoculars. So they get hustled by some scalper who promises better seats but basically sells them a view of a giant column. Can't see squat. Arnold gets fed up and, ignoring Gerald's dude don't vibes, sneaks down front for a closer look. Security, of course, is not chill about this, and suddenly Arnold's dodging ushers like he's in an action movie, all while Mickey Kaline steps up for what might be his last ever at bat. Meanwhile, the whole neighborhood's losing their minds watching this on TV. Kaline blasts a home run straight to the stands, and Arnold actually catches it on live TV. Kids running from security, ball in hand, probably thinking he's in the Sandlot or something. Back home, everyone's offering cash for that historic ball. But Arnold's got a conscience. He can't just keep it when the guy who inspired him deserves it more. Grandpa gives him a little nudge, so Arnold heads out to Quigley Field, finds Mickey all by himself, and hands back the ball. Mickey's grateful, gets all nostalgic about baseball, and then asks Arnold if he wants to play catch. I mean, come on. That's the kind of ending that make even the toughest kid get misty-eyed. Episode 5, Benchwarmer/Cool Jerk. Arnold and Gerald are psyched to play in the YMAA Basketball League, but that excitement nosedives fast when Coach Wittenberg rolls in and basically makes the whole team the Tucker Show. Seriously, every drill, every scrimmage, everyone's just handing the ball to his kid, Tucker, like he's some kind of basketball messiah. The rest of the squad, not thrilled. Come game day, Arnold finally snaps and dishes the ball to Gerald instead of Golden Boy Tucker. Gerald scores, the crowd's hype, but Coach flips and benches Arnold for not following orders. Arnold's pretty much ready to hang it up and bail, but Grandpa swoops in with that classic don't quit wisdom. So Arnold sticks it out and starts noticing Tucker's actually cracking under the pressure. Dude can't even sink a free throw with his dad breathing down his neck. Arnold, being the bigger person, helps him out. We're talking meditation, shooting with a blindfold, all that Mr. Miyagi stuff. Tucker actually gets better. Flash forward to a big game, everything on the line. Tucker finally comes clean to his dad, says Arnold's the one who helped him, and asks Coach to actually trust the team for once. Arnold steps up, nails a clutch free throw, then sets up a play that wins the game. Coach Wittenberg finally gets it. Maybe basketball's a team sport. Everybody gets to play, and the team actually feels like a team for the first time. Dodgeball's in full swing, and Harold's out there running his mouth, threatening to pound Arnold into next week. Out of nowhere, Frankie G, the neighborhood's famous kid, rolls in, saves Arnold's butt, and suddenly they're tight. Like, overnight, Arnold's basically got VIP status. The other kids? Yeah, they're all jealous, except Gerald, who's got his spidey senses tingling. The dude's not buying it. Arnold ditches school just to hang with Frankie and his crew. These guys, Sketchy doesn't even begin to cover it. Frankie's showing off cash, cool gadgets, and a lifestyle that screams none of this is legal. He goes on about how Arnold's football-shaped head makes him perfect for something. Gerald's freaking out at this point, but Arnold's not listening. Fast forward to nighttime, Frankie finally drops the act. Turns out he wants Arnold to slither through a tiny shop window and open the door from the inside so Frankie and his goons can jack a bunch of stereo equipment. Arnold's like, nope, I'm out. But Frankie shoves his head right in the window, but then bails with his crew the second they hear a siren. Plot twist, it's not the cops, just Gerald, cranking an old siren like a maniac. Gerald gets Arnold unstuck. Arnold's super sorry for ignoring him, and they head home together, tossing Frankie's jacket in the trash where it belongs. Episode 6, The Little Pink Book / Field Trip. So Arnold's stuck in class when he takes a spitball right to the head. Naturally, he whips around, but Helga's already on the defensive, barking at him to mind his own business. The second she's alone, though, she flips open her math book, revealing her actual prized possession. A pink poetry book stuffed with mushy poems to Arnold. After class, Helga hops on the bus and manages to snip some of Arnold's hair and starts scribbling yet another poem. Only she's so caught up that she straight up signs her name this time. Then, in the chaos, she drops the thing right on Gerald's pile of books as she's leaving. Gerald, being Gerald, finds it and immediately starts performing dramatic readings for the whole block. Arnold's dying of embarrassment. Now, Arnold's on a mission. He ropes Gerald in for some investigation. Arnold's convinced it's Ruth McDougal, but Gerald's not buying it as Ruth's older. Not to be deterred, Arnold decides his pet pig, Abner, is going to sniff out the mystery admirer. Meanwhile, Helga's in full panic mode. She literally sneaks onto Arnold's roof, breaks into his room, and hides in his closet, all to rescue her precious book before Arnold stumbles onto her secret. She's stuck in there when Arnold and Gerald come back, so now she's just chilling in a closet, stressed out of her mind. That night, the investigation continues. Arnold and Gerald go full detective, gathering random stuff from all the girls at school and comparing it to the poetry book, but the whole experiment is a bust. Arnold suggests handwriting analysis, flipping through the yearbook. Gerald, joking around, throws out Helga's name, and they both crack up, while Helga, eavesdropping from the closet, is losing it. Helga calls up Phoebe to cover for her so she can pull an all-nighter in Arnold's closet. Next morning, Helga's wrecked but still hiding. She watches as Arnold, blissfully unaware, tucks the pink book into his pocket. Downstairs, Grandpa's teasing Arnold about his secret admirer, but Arnold's just weirded out by how intense it all seemed. At school, Arnold decides to read the poems to his classmates, probably hoping to figure out who wrote them. Instead, the whole class just roasts him. Helga, looking like she hasn't slept in a week, totally freaks when Arnold gets to the last page, the one with her signature. In a moment of pure desperation, she grabs the page, chomps it up, and launches it as a spitball back at Arnold, evidence destroyed. Arnold's left, scratching his head, while Helga clutches the lock of his hair she managed to snag, equal parts relieved and swoony. Arnold's class heads out to the aquarium. Everyone's hyped for the big day. Arnold's never been to an aquarium, thanks to chickenpox knocking him out of the first grade trip. The kids can't shut up about Lockjaw, this supposedly monstrous turtle, like it's some kind of urban legend. By the time the bus rolls up, it's chaos. All the kids stampede inside, but Arnold hangs back, taking it all in. On the tour, Arnold's clueless about Lockjaw, so he bugs Gerald, Sid and Stinky, who feed him these bonkers stories about how Lockjaw's basically Godzilla with a shell. Arnold gets obsessed. He goes exhibit to exhibit, pestering everyone. Is that Lockjaw? Eventually, the class crowds around the turtle tank. But the legendary beast? Not so much. Lockjaw pops up, looking way smaller and honestly kinda sad. The poor guy's lonely, his tank's all grimy, not exactly the king of the sea. But of course, Harold chucks his ice cream at the turtle, everyone laughs, and Arnold's just done. He sneaks downstairs, finds a quiet spot to watch Lockjaw through the glass, feeling all kinds of sad for him. Fast forward to that night, Arnold's home. Brain stuck on Lockjaw. He's got jazz playing, but all he can see in his mind is that turtle stuck in his tank. Eventually, he spills his guts to Grandma, who says, "Let's bust him out." No hesitation. She decks Arnold out in all black from her closet, and off they go for the rescue. They sneak in, clean up Lockjaw, but he's heavy. So Grandma whips out Arnold's skateboard, and they roll him right out the front door, Mission Impossible style. They haul him to the pier, set him loose, and Lockjaw swims off into the big blue, finally living his best life. Arnold and Grandma, total heroes. Arnold's feeling all warm and fuzzy until Grandma, grinning, says she might celebrate with some turtle soup.
That's right. Face down, everybody.
Episode 7. Tutoring Torvald, Gerald comes over. Tutoring Torvald is the first segment of the 7th episode. Torvald's this 13-year-old kid still stuck in 4th grade. Math's basically his nemesis, so Ms. Slovak ropes in Arnold to play tutor. Arnold starts all confident, but honestly, that confidence tanks the second he catches Torvald picking on Brainy. Not exactly a promising start. Their first session? Total train wreck. Torvald couldn't care less about math, or why it even matters. Then, Arnold drops by Torvald's place and meets his mum, who's like bursting with pride over a drawing Torvald did. Only got a C. That's when it hits Arnold. Torvald's tough guy act is just a cover for how much he's struggling. Frustrated, Arnold bails, but Torvald actually apologizes after. So they make a deal. Torvald gets at least a C, and the bullying stops. Arnold starts ditching the textbook stuff and works math into things Torvald actually cares about. And, hey, it starts to click. Test day rolls around. Torvald almost chickens out, but eventually slinks in late and gives it his all. He pulls off a C+, not exactly valedictorian level, but he's pumped, and more importantly, he sticks to the promise. Gerald Comes Over is the second segment of the 7th episode. Arnold crashes at Gerald's place again, and Gerald's like, "Dude, I've never even been to your house." Arnold hesitates, because, well, his boarding house is a whole circus, but he caves. They walk in and find Arnold's grandma is decked out in full safari mode, chasing a fly, while Grandpa nonchalantly dries his hands on a cat and then reminds Arnold he's got to go collect rent. They make the rounds and things just get weirder. Mr. Purdy's sneaking chickens. Ernie can't stop going on about blowing stuff up back in his demolition days. Mr. Smith. Dude leaves an IOU instead of actually paying rent. Then Mr. Hyun ropes them into fixing up his busted apartment before tossing them 10 cents. And don't even get me started on the Kokoschkas. They're yelling at each other until Arnold bangs a dinner gong and suddenly everyone's all buddy-buddy at the table. Gerald's brain is basically fried by all this madness, but in the end he sort of digs it. It's wild and messy, but there's something warm about it. The boys end up crashing on the roof, just soaking it all in.
Hey! Get back here, you little weasel!
Episode 8, Arnold's Hat/Stoop Kid. Arnold's hat is the first segment of the 8th episode. Arnold's asleep, dreaming about flying around with a kite, until the alarm clock blares and yanks him back to reality. He stumbles through his morning routine, then chills with Grandma over a stack of pancakes. Solid start. Fast forward, he meets up with Gerald at the park, and the two geniuses try to get their DIY kite to take off. Meanwhile, Helga's creeping in the background, like some cartoon villain, nabbing a nasty wad of Arnold's gum from under a bench to stick onto her secret sculpture of Arnold. But she's not satisfied. The masterpiece needs his hat. So what does she do? She's up on a rooftop with a fishing rod, trying to snag Arnold's hat. But she ends up getting yanked off by a delivery truck, crash lands in a pigeon coop, feathers everywhere. Back at the park, Arnold finally gets the kite airborne by tying it to a balloon. Right when it's flying high, a gust of wind snatches both the kite and his beloved hat, which lands right at Helga's feet. She's ecstatic, skips home and plops the hat right on her weird little Arnold idol. Arnold, meanwhile, is a wreck. The hat's not just some accessory, it's got all this history. His parents gave it to him when he was tiny, so yeah, it means everything. Gerald tries to tempt him with free ice cream, but Arnold's not budging. "Not without my hat," he sulks. Helga overhears all this, freaks out, then races home only to find her mum's tossed her sculpture in the trash, hat and all. She goes full action hero, sprinting to the city dump like her life depends on it. While she's dumpster diving, Grandpa Phil gives Arnold the classic pep talk about how what's inside is what really counts. Cheesy, but hey, it works. Arnold starts to perk up. Just as Helga manages to fish the hat out of the garbage, she bumps into Arnold. He's so happy he hugs her, totally melting her cold, crusty heart for a second. Then she snaps back to her usual tough girl act. Arnold strolls off, hat back where it belongs, and Helga's left, swooning, until, of course, a pigeon dumps on her head. Stoop Kid is the second segment of the 8th episode. Arnold and his crew are just trying to play a chill game of football in the street when Arnold boots the ball way too hard, straight onto the steps of the notorious Stoop Kid. Everyone knows Stoop Kid. He basically owns that stoop and treats anyone who steps near it like they're trespassing on sacred ground. Dude's a legend and a terror all at once. The kids, totally pissed at Arnold. Game's over. Gerald, always the storyteller, starts explaining, "Bro, Stoop Kid has never left that stoop." Ever Arnold figures maybe he can just ask nicely for the ball. Stoop Kid just mocks him, acting like the king of the block. Arnold's got no shot. He even tries full-on spy mode, hiding in a trash can, peeking out, watching Stoop Kid eat, yell at people, even read The Little Engine That Could. But through it all, Stoop Kid never left his stoop. Arnold starts dreaming about the stoop, turning into some crazy crumbling tower out of a Tim Burton movie. He wakes up and he's even more frustrated. But Arnold's stubborn. He comes up with this sneak attack strategy. Grab the ball while Stoop Kid's distracted. And the wild thing? It actually works. He bolts with the ball, and he and Gerald have a good laugh. Suddenly everyone's roasting Stoop Kid, chanting about how he's too afraid to ever leave the stoop. Even the newspapers get in on it. Stoop Kid's crushed crying alone at night. Arnold, being a decent dude, feels bad. He brings Stoop Kid some inspiration, photos of epic stoops around the world, like the Spanish Steps and stuff, basically telling him, "Hey man, there's life beyond this block if you're brave enough." Stoop Kid tries to leave the stoop a few times and totally bails, but eventually Arnold's pep talk sinks in. The whole neighborhood gathers. Stoop Kid finally steps off that stoop. Next day, the headline's all, "Stoop Kid steps off stoop. Victory. Or is it?" Stoop Kid gives Arnold a sly grin and says he's still going to mess with people, just now he's not stuck to one spot. Arnold's exasperated, but hey, mission accomplished. And then Harold comes swaggering by, littering on the stoop. Stoop Kid jumps off, chases Harold down the street, and the legend only grows. Episode 9, Heat/Snow. Heat is the first segment of the 9th episode. Arnold's in the middle of this wild dream, stuffing his face with ice cream cones the size of tree trunks. Then his alarm clocks him right out of it, and he wakes up drenched in sweat. Turns out it's basically a sauna outside. Garbage is stacked in funky towers, traffic is a nightmare, and even the mailman looks like he's about to melt into the sidewalk. Inside the boarding house, it's survival of the fittest around the air conditioner. The thing gives up, sputters, dies, and suddenly everyone's freaking out like it's the apocalypse. Grandpa sends Arnold on a heroic quest for ice. So Arnold trudges to the store, but the line is all the way to next week. He finally gets to the front, and of course, there's just one sad little bag left. He and Gerald book it home like they're in an Olympic sprint, but the universe has other plans. The ice? Basically a puddle by the time he gets back. The adults lay into him. Poor kid can't catch a break. Desperate, Arnold and Gerald try the old open the fire hydrant trick, except the water fizzles out as firefighters are busy battling a fire down the street. They try their luck at the movie theatre, but the lines are ridiculous and the movie choices are straight up garbage. The pool, packed like sardines. Arnold's about ready to throw in the towel. Then chaos. The Jolly Ollie man, the ice cream truck dude, has jacked up his prices to "you gotta be kidding me" levels. The kids are losing it. Eugene pleads for a snow cone, but gets roasted for being broke. Arnold's had enough. He calls out the Jolly Ollie man, and the whole neighborhood of sweaty, angry kids erupts into a protest. No ice cream, no peace. Helga's loving it, basically orchestrating a full-on ice cream revolution. Arnold, voice of reason as always, tries to chill everybody out, pointing out that the heat's making everyone lose their minds. Just as things look ready to explode, the sky opens up. Massive summer rainstorm. Instantly, tempers cool and everyone's out in the street, soaking up the rain like it's the best thing ever. Grandma strolls by in a full-on, old-school diving suit. Because why not? The whole wild, sweaty, dramatic day ends with everyone finally catching a breath. Snow is the second segment of the 9th episode. Arnold wakes up, rubs his eyes, and finds snow everywhere. Like someone dumped a giant powdered sugar shaker over the whole block. He's grinning like he just won the lottery. The radio's on, and the second he hears PS 118's closed, he's whooping. Meanwhile, Grandpa's grumbling about the snow and cursing the kids outside for pelting him with snowballs. Classic. Arnold's ready to launch himself down the banister, plans to meet Gerald and the rest of the crew already brewing. But nope. Grandpa's got other ideas. The guy shoves a chore list in his face, starting with shoveling the walk. So much for freedom. Outside, it's basically chaos in the best way. Helga and Phoebe are stacking up snowmen. And, get this, Helga's secretly moulding hers to look like Arnold. Then, as soon as she catches herself, she wipes it out with a karate chop. Harold and his buddies? They're flinging snowballs at passing buses, which, ends about as well as you'd expect. One bus skids out. And who's inside? Grandma with her dog sled crew, obviously. Eugene, bless him, manages to get himself banged up and buried in snow. Arnold finally finishes shoveling, eyes on his sled, but the furnace gives out. Now the boarders are whining about the cold, and Grandpa ropes Arnold back in for just a few more things. Meanwhile, everyone else is out there living their best lives. Gerald swings by, all ticked that Arnold's stuck being Grandpa's apprentice, but Arnold just repeats Grandpa's work before play mantra like a zombie. This actually gets through to Grandpa, weirdly enough. He stops, hurls a snowball at the wall, and takes a trip down memory lane. Suddenly he's got a change of heart. Next thing you know, he's out there with hoses, turning the whole street into an ice rink. The neighborhood goes wild, Grandma. The boarders, pretty much everyone's in on it. Arnold's still knee-deep in chores when Grandpa decides enough's enough. He chucks a snowball at Arnold, finally letting him off the hook. Arnold's face lights up, and he sprints outside, diving into a hockey game with the rest. The day winds down around a big bonfire, snow falling again, promising more chaos tomorrow. Winter's just getting started. Episode 10, Helga's Makeover. Rhonda's throwing this big slumber party for all the girls in the neighborhood. Everyone's invited, except Helga. Why? Because apparently Helga's just too unfeminine for Rhonda's taste. Helga's left fuming, and honestly, she's kinda heartbroken too. To rub salt in the wound, the boys start teasing her. You sure you're even a girl? And then some random dude on the street literally mistakes her for a boy. Later that night, Helga sneaks by the party and hears the girls laughing their heads off at Rhonda's over-the-top impression of her. That's it. She's done. Helga goes full revenge mode. She's going to show them all what feminine really looks like. Next thing you know, she's grabbing a fashion mag from the corner store, then she locks herself in the bathroom, at home. Out comes the makeup, the nail polish, the hairbrush, even the unibrow gets a trim. She walks out looking like a totally different person. Her mum, Miriam, literally faints. Helga's on a mission now, strutting all the way to Rhonda's place. Sid spots her and loses his mind, so he sprints off to Omar's falafel hut where the boys are stuffing their faces. Harold, never one to miss a spectacle, rallies the crew and they go full spy mode, camouflage and everything to sneak a peek at this legendary slumber party. Inside, Helga absolutely stuns the girls. Rhonda's left speechless, but Phoebe, she can tell something's off. She's like, "Helga, what are you doing?" Helga's not listening though, she's got a point to prove. Just as Rhonda's about to slather Helga's face in some weird avocado cream, Helga loses it. She calls out the whole beauty routine circus, ranting about how ridiculous it is for girls their age to care so much about skin care and high heels. Rhonda just shrugs. This is what we do for fun. What's better than this? And then chaos. They hear a commotion outside. Turns out the boys are peeking through the window. Busted, the boys scatter, but Harold gets caught. Next thing he knows, he's tied up and dolled up like one of the girls. The embarrassment is real. Helga and Phoebe can't stop cracking up. Honestly, best slumber party ever.
Are you okay, Mr. Pataki?
Am I okay?
Episode 11, Mugged/Roughing It. Mugged is the first segment of the 11th episode. Arnold's just trying to mind his own business when some punk kid jumps in for his bus pass and pocket change, then literally dumps him in the trash. He's all rattled, so he spills the beans to Grandpa and Mr. Hyun. But Grandma? Oh, she's not having it. She rolls up the next morning dressed like she's about to film a kung fu movie, ready to turn Arnold into the next Karate Kid. Grandma's training isn't exactly normal. One minute Arnold's forced to meditate and balance on random stuff. Next he's whacking boards and kicking cans across the living room. She keeps telling him he'll be ready when he can snatch a fly out of her palm. Meanwhile, Grandpa keeps getting caught in the crossfire. After a ton of fails, Arnold finally nails it and struts around showing off to everyone. But then it goes straight to his head. Arnold's suddenly scaring off bullies, swaggering through school, practicing the old tough guy stare in the mirror. Gerald's like, "Go dude, chill, you're not yourself." But Arnold's too busy flexing his newfound vibes to listen. He even jumps an innocent dude just for asking directions. Talk about embarrassing. The crowd flips on him, and reality finally gets to him. On the bus ride home, Arnold spills his guts to Grandma, admitting he's let all this get to him. She's cool about it, just says real self-defense is about waiting until you actually need it. And wouldn't you know it, the same jerk from before shows up, mouthing off. Arnold keeps his cool, sees the guy as the fly, and just snatches his bus pass right back. The thug freaks out and bolts. Grandma's beaming. Arnold finally gets it. Being strong is not about showing off. It's about knowing when to use it. Roughing It is the second segment of the 11th episode. Grandpa drags Arnold and Gerald out for this fun camping trip, but it's basically outdoor boot camp. Instead of splashing around or kicking back with fishing poles, they're stuck hauling wood, setting up tents and playing water fetch with Grandpa barking orders. The boys, yeah, they're over it, but they go along anyway. And Grandpa's out there dropping weird wisdom like, red and sweet are good to eat, but green'll make you vomit. Honestly, not exactly the gourmet picnic they had in mind. Night falls, and let me tell you, sleep's a joke. Mosquitoes are on a rampage. Grandpa's snoring sounds like a broken chainsaw. And don't even get me started on his bean-powered symphony. Eventually, Arnold and Gerald hit their limit and tell Grandpa they want to bail. He's shocked and explains camping is all about being cold, dirty and hungry. Right when things hit peak misery, who should roll up but Big Bob Pataki in his tricked-out RV, dragging Helga and Phoebe along for the ride. His campsite? Total glam fest. Think steak sizzling, fancy gadgets, eggs that probably cost more than my monthly rent. Helga's got this scheme. She wants a romantic hike with Arnold, so everyone treks out to Ophelia's overlook. But Bob's high-tech gear fizzles, the RV conks out, Helga's fancy snacks go bad, and they're lost in the woods. Guess who saves the day? Arnold and Gerald, armed with Grandpa's old-school survival tips. They find berries, retrace the trail, and suddenly camping doesn't seem so bad. They're actually proud of themselves and decide to stick it out another night. Meanwhile, Bob, he stumbles into poison ivy and gets left behind, grumpy and itching, while the kids finally get that real camping experience.
I'll show you dancing.
Grandma?
Episode 12, door number 16/Arnold as Cupid. Door number 16 is the first segment of the 12th episode. Mr. Smith is like a ghost. No one really knows what his deal is. The rest of the boarders are crammed together, but he's living it up in his own fancy maisonette, bathroom included. Dude doesn't even leave his room for meals. Arnold hauls food up to him with a dumbwaiter like they're in a haunted hotel. Naturally, the other boarders start acting all jealous and nosy, whispering about his secretive ways. Then, Out of nowhere, some shady dude drops off a package for Mr. Smith. Only Mr. Smith gets this, he says to Arnold, all mysterious and stuff. Of course, everyone loses their minds trying to guess what's inside. The boarders basically badger Arnold to open it, but he's not having it. Instead, he hides the thing in his room. Does it work? Nope. Ernie tries to Mission Impossible his way in through the roof. Meanwhile, Arnold and Gerald figure, screw it, let's just find Mr. Smith ourselves. Only clue, the guy's got a bowler hat. So they hit up this hat shop, and Gerald somehow gets an address that points them to Satellite Industries. They try to get info, but the receptionist acts like she's guarding the nuclear codes. Mr. Smith? Sorry, that's classified. They get booted out, but spot him on the streets, chase him around, and then he hops in a helicopter like a total boss. When Arnold and Gerald make it back, it's straight chaos. The boarders have tied up Grandpa and Grandma, all for that stupid package. In the struggle, it rips open. What's inside? Just a photo of everyone, labelled My Family. Just as everyone's feeling like dirt, another mysterious delivery for Mr. Smith shows up. Arnold? He's just about ready to lose it. Arnold as Cupid is the second segment of the 12th episode. Things really go off the rails after Susie boots Oscar out. Dude's got nowhere to crash, so what does he do? Just waltzes into Arnold's room and fake snoozes in his bed like he owns the place. At first, Oscar tries to butter Arnold up with breakfast. Never mind it's all swiped from poor Ernie. But honestly, the guy's a walking tornado. He messes with Arnold's alarm clock, makes him late for class, blasts his saxophone when Arnold's trying to get some studying in, and somehow manages to gamble away Arnold's CD player in a card game. Arnold, totally over the circus, decides enough's enough. Time to play matchmaker. He sets up this whole rooftop romantic dinner, tricking both Oscar and Susie into thinking the other one planned it. Not a bad plan, except Oscar can't help himself. He scarfs down the only dessert, and Susie just leaves, angrier than ever. Next day, Oscar's finally packing up to leave. Susie, probably just glad to have some peace, tries to slip him some cash, but he actually refuses for once. That tiny bit of decency is enough for Susie to forgive him. And just like that, Oscar's back home. Episode 13, Das Subway / Wheezin' Ed. Das Subway is the first segment of the 13th episode. Arnold and his crew just sat through Killer Vegetables from Space, and it's already pitch black outside. They totally spaced and missed the last bus. No one has a dime for a cab. Arnold throws out the subway idea. Gerald's not having it. He drops that classic, sun goes down, stay above ground. Still, they all pile onto the eastbound D train, kind of against their better judgment. They're not alone either. There's a homeless dude mumbling to himself, a couple arguing, this psychologist with a claustrophobic patient, and a blind guy with his trusty dog. Then a rat decides to chomp through some wires, so the train just dies, lights out. The driver's trying to play it cool, but people are starting to lose it. Helga, tough as nails, suggests they just walk for it. She takes one look outside, sees a sea of rats, and nopes out of that plan real fast. Things get even more tense when Harold tries to sneak some chocolate, only the blind guy smells it right away and totally busts him. And just when everyone's on the brink of a full-on meltdown, the dog starts giving birth. Out of nowhere. Meanwhile, Arnold's grandma is up top, fixing the subway power back together. Suddenly, lights. The train lurches back to life. Everyone's so relieved, they end up belting out a song together as they roll into the next station. Wheezin' Ed is the second segment of the 13th episode. Arnold's hanging around the pier, wondering, why does no one ever go to Elk Island? Gerald, being the keeper of all things spooky, launches into this wild story about Wheezin' Ed. A gangster with a cough problem who apparently stashed a load of cash on the island and now freaks out anyone dumb enough to go looking for it. Helga rolls her eyes, but then Sheena's uncle Earl pops up and says, "Yeah, there's treasure, hop on my boat, kids, but cough up some cash first." Meanwhile, a couple of low-rent crooks, Vic and Maury, are using the island's caves to churn out fake pennies. Inside the cave, Arnold's dropping jelly beans to mark the way, but Harold's trailing behind, eating every single one. Arnold's paired up with Helga, and she's like inches from spilling her guts about her secret crush when Brainy shows up, wheezing. The kids try to bail, but end up tumbling into a pit full of counterfeit pennies. Jackpot. Nope. Turns out it's just a pile of fakes. Then Vic and Maury catch wind of them, and the chase is on. Right as things get hairy, the cops swoop in and catch the bad guys, thanks to Earl accidentally paying his fare with a bogus penny. Episode 14, Spelling Bee/Pigeon Man. Arnold and Helga get picked to rep their class at the big annual Spelling Bee, $500 on the line, which, let's be honest, is a small fortune when you're a kid. Arnold's already picturing himself jamming on that Tone Master 2000 keyboard. Meanwhile, Helga's stuck in this emotional blender. She wants to win, but not if it means crushing Arnold, yet her dad Bob's breathing down her neck like some spelling-obsessed drill sergeant. Dude even makes her wear Olga's massive medal, like that's going to magically make her smarter or something. Fast forward to B-Day. Eventually it's just Arnold, Helga, and this kid Seymour Stump left. Seymour's rattling off words that'd make an English professor sweat. Suddenly his secret's out. A mic falls out of his ear, and, surprise, his mum's been feeding him the answers. He's out. It's Arnold versus Helga now. Then Bob, in peak Bob fashion, tries to straight up bribe Arnold with the $500 prize money to let Helga win. Arnold's not about that life and turns him down. He steps up, spells onomatopoeia like a total boss. Crowd goes wild. Helga, totally fed up with her dad's garbage, purposely flunks Olga's go-to word, qualm. Arnold takes home the trophy and cash. Helga, honestly, looks more relieved than anything. She might have lost the bee, but she finally defied her dad. Arnold's trusty pigeon, Chester, starts acting all weird. Arnold freaks out, of course, and decides to hunt down this urban legend, the Pigeon Man. Supposedly, he's some creepy rooftop loner, at least according to Gerald, who tells the kind of stories that would make a kid sleep with the lights on. Anyway, Arnold meets the guy, real name's Vincent, and turns out he's just a lonely dude who vibes way more with birds than humans because people sucked when he was a kid. Vincent agrees to help out with Chester. Next day, birds back to flapping and cooing like nothing happened. Arnold and Vincent actually hit it off. Vincent starts rambling about pigeons, and Arnold's all in. They even make plans for pizza at Antonio's. But then Harold, Stinky, and Joey sneak up to Vincent's rooftop with some dumb prank in mind and end up trashing the whole pigeon sanctuary. Like feathers everywhere, total chaos. Arnold and Vincent show up to the mess. Arnold's heart breaks. And Vincent? He kind of just sighs like, yeah, people let me down again, shocker. So Vincent decides he's done with the city. But before flying off, he tells Arnold that his kindness made him believe in people, even if just a little bit. Then, all dramatic and mysterious, Vincent disappears into the sunset.
Arnold? Is that you?
Episode 15 to 20. Olga comes home, hits that classic sibling rivalry nerve. Helga's stuck in her sister's shadow, who is back in the city. Helga snaps and swaps one of Olga's perfect grades for a B+, which sends Olga into meltdown mode. But, Helga confesses, and Olga, instead of flipping out, admits she's sick of being Little Miss Perfect. They end up dropping the act and just hang out, like actual sisters instead of rivals in a weird family Olympics. Is peak childhood hustle. Arnold and Gerald want a peek at this rare comet, but city lights ruin everything. They try all sorts of schemes to shut off the lights. Nothing works until they hijack a radio station and convince the whole city to go dark. Suddenly, everyone's up on the roof, comet watching like it's the Super Bowl. Arnold loses his pet pig. Grandpa's all, he'll come back, chill, but Arnold is losing it. After a bunch of failed searches, he finally lures Abner home with trash and mud. Happy, messy reunion. The Sewer King is just wild. Arnold drops his watch, which was given to him by Grandpa, down a manhole. So Arnold and Gerald end up in the city's gross underworld, chasing after this watch. Who do they meet? Some self-appointed sewer king, hoarding junk like it's the crown jewel. They barely escape with the watch, only for Grandpa to lose it again. False Alarm gets all Law and Order, Playground Edition. Everyone thinks Eugene yanked the fire alarm. But Arnold's not buying it. They have a full-on student trial, and it turns out Curly framed Eugene over a chewed pencil. Justice prevails, Eugene's free, and Curly, he pulls more alarms on his way out. In world records, Arnold's crew tries to break every record under the sun. Human pyramids, giant pizza puffs, total madness. They fail every attempt. Helga's roasting them the whole time. But hey, their string of failures actually sets a record for most failed records. Kinda inspirational, honestly. Even losers can win, just in their own weird way. In Magic Show, Helga's being her usual snarky self, totally roasting Arnold's baby-level magic tricks. But then she has to volunteer for his disappearing act. Thing is, she sneaks out in the middle of it. Then she has this wild dream where she's actually invisible to everyone, and honestly, it freaks her out. Nobody cares that she's missing. And Arnold? He basically becomes famous for her vanishing act. She wakes up and decides that she has to start being nice to everyone. But of course, she still can't spit out her feelings for Arnold. Then, 24 Hours to Live goes full playground drama. Arnold accidentally clocks Harold with a baseball, and Harold, with Helga hyping him up, demands a fight. Arnold's sweating bullets all day, convinced he's toast. When the showdown hits, Arnold just goes full weirdo, acting nuts, so Harold gets freaked out and bails on the beating. And then Arnold's Christmas just hits different. Arnold draws Mr. Hyun for Secret Santa and finds out the guy's biggest wish is to see his daughter again, who he lost in the Vietnam War. So Arnold and Gerald go full detective trying to track her down, but they hit this dead end because they can't score some rare boots needed to convince a city clerk. Enter Helga. She ditches her dream Christmas gift, those Nancy Spumoni boots, so Arnold can get the boots and, hopefully, the reunion. Christmas morning comes, and Mr. Hyun and his daughter are together again. Arnold's standing there totally stunned, but Gerald's convinced it's a Christmas miracle. Meanwhile, Helga's outside, low-key proud, but not saying a word about her part in it. In Arnold's Valentine, Arnold tries pulling a double date, one with Ruth, his longtime crush, and one with Cecile, his French pen pal. But Helga, ever the master of chaos, disguises herself as Cecile just to get close to Arnold. Naturally, everything goes sideways. Ruth turns out to be a total bore, but Cecile gives Arnold a night to remember until the real Cecile shows up. Helga slips away, heart bruised but still mysterious, while Arnold's left, wondering who the heck this amazing girl was. Season 2. The season starts with Save the Tree, where everything goes sideways when Arnold and his crew go full eco-warrior to save Mighty Pete, the only tree in the neighborhood that's older than everyone's grandma combined. Big Bob, being his usual capitalist villain self, wants to bulldoze it for another beeper center, and he ropes Nick Vermicelli into a midnight demolition job. The kids aren't having it. They straight up occupy the treehouse, and even Helga, Queen of Denial, joins Arnold. When Bob's bulldozer goes rogue, Arnold's grandma swings in like she's auditioning for Tarzan and saves the day, forcing Bob to back down. He's salty and threatens to build on Gerald Field instead. Next up, new teacher. Miss Slovak pieces out, and the school subs in Mr. Simmons, who's all about feelings and being yourself, which is apparently bores the kids out of their minds. They push back hard, and Dude has a full-on existential crisis. But then they get Mr. Goose, who runs his class like a boot camp. Turns out, Sensitive Simmons wasn't so bad. The kids hunt him down, apologize, and bring him back by annoying Goose with a barrage of why questions until he cracks. Helga's love potion is peak Helga drama. She's sick of her wild, confusing crush on Arnold, so she buys some sketchy love cure from a fortune teller. Next thing you know, she's dead inside. She literally can't muster up feelings for anything. Turns out it was just grape juice. And suddenly, she misses the chaos of loving Arnold. Then there's Gerald's secret. Everyone's hyped for the big bike-a-thon, but Gerald's got a paint my house excuse. Arnold figures out the truth. Dude never learnt to ride a bike. Cue the montage of Gerald eating pavement, but he pulls it together and wins the race. The big scoop is just messy. Arnold's running the school paper like he's Woodward and Bernstein. Helga, not one for rules, starts her own tabloid, the Pataki Press, and starts making up wild stories about everyone. Arnold loves trees. Gerald plays with dolls. She crosses the line with a lie about the school closing, gets called out, and slinks back to the real paper. Still exaggerating, obviously. In Harold's Kitty, Harold finds a stray cat names her Cupcake, and gets way too attached. When he finds out Cupcake belongs to some old lady, he refuses to give her back, but Arnold guilt trips him into doing the right thing. Harold's heartbroken, but everyone's suddenly got mad respect for him. Longest Monday is just a survival story. It's trash can day, which means 5th graders terrorize the 4th graders by literally dumping them in garbage cans. Wolfgang and his crew are relentless. Arnold tries to talk sense into him to break the cycle, but gets trashed anyway. It turns out it's not the end of the world, and now the 3rd graders are sweating about next year. Eugene's pet is classic Eugene. He brings his goldfish Henry for show and tell, but Arnold accidentally kills it with a yo-yo. Eugene's cursed, so every new pet ends up dead or missing until he gets an angelfish, only for it to get eaten by a shark at the aquarium. Arnold and Gerald decide to keep that little detail to themselves, so Eugene can stay his obliviously happy self. Then, monkey business. Helga learns about some nonsense fake disease, monkey nucleosis, and convinces herself she caught it from a monkey. Every little itch is now a symptom, and she spirals, almost confessing her love to Arnold before Phoebe bursts in with the truth. It's not even real. Helga's mortified, but she can't help loving that Arnold is actually nice to her about it. Oh, and Big Caesar. Arnold and Gerald try to catch this legendary fish their grandpa once chased. Spoiler, they don't catch it, but they get a whole lesson in patience and mythical fishtail. Still, pretty wholesome. In Ransom, Gerald won't let Timberly join their detective game until her gator toy Wally gets kidnapped. Cue the wild candy ransom hunt, suspects everywhere, Chocolate Boy, Harold, Curly, you name it. Plot twist, Timberly played them all. She just wanted in. Gerald promises she's in next time. Sibling politics, am I right? Then there's Miss Perfect. New kid Lila Sawyer shows up. She's nice, smart, dresses better than anyone else in school. Helga and her crew? Not having it. They try to take her down with pranks, but end up just embarrassing themselves until they dump nasty spinach on her. Feeling guilty, they stop by her place and see her real-life struggle. They apologize, she forgives them, and suddenly she's in the squad. Arnold saves Sid. Arnold saves Sid from a rogue board, and Sid basically becomes his butler. We're talking over-the-top, your wish is my command stuff until Arnold's about to lose it. He finally snaps Sid out. Hooky is just Arnold and Gerald skipping school, thinking they're living the dream, but it all goes sideways. Adults keep spotting them, they get arrested for soda theft, and they almost get caught. Punchline? They find out school had a secret carnival. So yeah, karma's got jokes. Freeze frames. Arnold and Gerald think they've cracked a massive crime after catching sketchy guys on camera. They go full junior detectives, only to uncover a surprise party. Whoops. But they're not discouraged. Sleuthing continues. And then Phoebe cheats. Poor Phoebe plagiarizes a poem, wins a contest, but the guilt eats her alive. She confesses, because that's what guilt does. Meanwhile, Helga's off in her own world, writing love poetry about Arnold. Mud Bowl is just mud, chaos, and football. Arnold's class faces off against Wolfgang's crew. They're banking on Torvald, the giant, until he's out with an injury. Helga tries to coach, and it's a mess. Arnold steps up, brains over brawn, ties it up, and wins in the rain. Cue the glory. Gerald moves out. Gerald's sick of his brother, sister, chores, so he moves to Arnold's boarding house. Turns out it's just as nuts, maybe even worse. He crawls back home, appreciating his family a little more. Then the high life hits. Gerald gets suckered into selling wacko watches, floods the hood with the things, ends up super broke. Arnold helps him hustle the scam company and get his money back. But Gerald barely breaks even. No snazzy rollerblades for him. Best friends is just Rhonda and Nadine beefing over a project, dragging Arnold into the drama. He plays peacemaker. They hug it out. Now, Arnold's Halloween is just chaos. Arnold and Gerald fake an alien invasion to prank the boarders. Helga gets the class to dress up as aliens. The whole city flips out when a TV show runs with it. There's a full-blown panic. Kids being chased as aliens until their makeup comes off. Arnold swears off pranking, but Grandpa's impressed. Steely Phil. Grandpa's got history. He's a legend in Chinese checkers, haunted by a past loss. Arnold's like, come on, get back in there. Grandpa faces his demons, and there's some classic grandparent wisdom. Quantity time, Miriam bails, so Helga and her dad are forced into bonding time. Awkward shopping, errands, but some real moments sneak in. Kinda sweet, actually. Eating contest. Grandpa ropes Arnold into a city eating contest against the disposal Seymour. Arnold paces himself. Seymour overdoes it and literally eats himself out of the competition. Arnold wins. Grandpa's proud. Everyone's a little queasy. Rhonda's glasses. Rhonda gets glasses, instantly demoted to geek on the bus. She's not having it, rallies the other misfits, and basically stages a bus social coup. Outcasts unite, new order established. In Helga's boyfriend, Helga's got this genius idea. She ropes Stinky into fake dating her just to get Arnold's attention. Of course, Arnold's completely oblivious, like always. But then Stinky actually starts crushing on her for real, which Helga absolutely did not see coming. She dumps him, only to find out he's already moved on with this girl Gloria. Meanwhile, Helga's still stuck on Arnold, scribbling hearts in her secret shrine or whatever. Next up, crush on teacher is pure childhood disaster. Arnold gets it in his head that his substitute teacher, Miss Felter, is into him. He shows up at her place ready for some candlelight magic, only to find out she's talking about her fiancé, and his name is also Arn. Kid gets absolutely roasted by reality, but hey, at least he learns not every warm smile means romance. Welcome to growing up, buddy. Then there's hall monitor, where Helga passes her mean girl torch to Phoebe. Phoebe tries to fill Helga's shoes, but ends up turning into a mini dictator. The power goes straight to her head, and the poor girl spirals. Eventually, she snaps out of it, ditches the badge, and Helga helps her patch things up with the other kids. Harold's bar mitzvah is all about Harold freaking out about growing up. He bails on his big day, classic panic move, but ends up accidentally doing a bunch of grown-up stuff while on the run, helping folks, making decisions, you name it. Arnold, the eternal therapist, gives him a pep talk, and Harold goes back and nails the ceremony. Now, Coach Wittenberg. Arnold ropes in this washed-up, tough guy coach to help their bowling team. At first, the dude is way too intense, but he eventually chills out and actually inspires the kids. They win, he patches things up with his wife, and everyone gets a little personal growth. Four-Eyed Jack is your classic ghost story. Arnold and Gerald hear about this old boarder who lost his glasses and supposedly haunts the boarding house. Most of the spooky stuff turns out to be nothing, but then Gerald legit bumps into the ghost, who's just there for his glasses. He grabs them, drops a polite boo, and pieces out, leaving Gerald practically needing new pants. In Eugene Goes Bad, Eugene's totally obsessed with this superhero, the Abdicator, like posters on the wall, quoting catchphrases, but then the Abdicator turns out to be just some egotistical actor, not a real hero at all. Eugene loses it, goes full rebel mode, pulling fire alarms, graffiti, you name it. But then he realizes he's accidentally being a bad influence on this little kid, and during some chaos on a fire escape, both of them almost eat pavement. The Abdicator steps up, saves them for real, and suddenly Eugene gets it. Heroism isn't about capes or catchphrases. It's what you do when it counts. Now, what's opera, Arnold? Arnold basically dreams himself into this insane Wagnerian opera. All dramatic costumes and booming music. His friends are in it too, but the real kicker? Helga's there, practically belting out her secret love for him. It's all very over the top and hilarious. And then Arnold wakes up. Just a dream. Then there's Tour de Pond, which is basically Arnold versus some snotty rich kid, Rex, in a boat race. Grandpa Phil's still salty about losing to Rex's granddad years ago, so there's some generational drama. Arnold fixes up the family's crusty old boat, deals with sabotage, and somehow wins the race using nothing but brains, luck, and a gust of wind. The grandpas start duking it out on the sidelines because, let's face it, old grudges die hard. Teachers' strike is every kid's dream, at least at first. The teachers walk out, Principal Wart steps in and fails, and the students party, until all their teachers start popping up at their after-school hangouts, working odd jobs. The fun wears off fast. Arnold and Gerald rally the troops. Everyone stands up for the teachers, and they work out a deal, so summer vacation isn't totally wrecked. Runaway float is chaos. Arnold builds this super cool parade float for the city, But Helga's dad hijacks the whole thing, slapping beeper ads everywhere. The float goes haywire during the parade. But Arnold manages to save the day, and his real design gets its moment to shine. Ends up winning best float. Finally, partners. Dino Spumoni and Don Reynolds, these old-school musicians, have a falling out and try to go solo. Both fail hilariously. Meanwhile, Arnold and Gerald are prepping for a talent show, end up fighting too, and realise they're better off together. They mash up Dino's melody and Don's lyrics, wow the crowd, and the old guys patch things up. Moral of the story, collaboration beats stubborn pride every time. Season 3. So in Helga Blabs It All, Helga's dentist visit goes off the rails. She gets a whiff of laughing gas, loses all chill, and ends up blurting her deepest, darkest secrets straight into the phone, which supposedly gets immortalized on his answering machine. She spends the whole day in full ninja mode, pulling off wild schemes, trying to snatch the tape back. Punchline? The damn machine never even worked. Her secret isn't out, but she's left both relieved and low-key, pissed about all the drama for nothing. Then there's Harold the Butcher. Harold's parents have had it with his couch potato ways, so they throw him into the meat grinder. Literally, he gets a gig at Mr. Green's butcher shop. He starts out whining and bumbling, but surprise, he actually picks it up, gets proud of himself, and even earns some respect. Dangerous Lumber is basically Arnold's turn at existential crisis. Every time he steps up to bat, someone gets hurt. Like, it's almost a superpower, just not the cool kind. He's convinced he's cursed. But in the big game, instead of swinging for the fences, he bunts. Team wins, curse broken, self-confidence restored. Now, Mr. Hyun goes country. Mr. Hyun gets scouted as a country music star. Suddenly he's got fans, fame, and the stage lights in his face. But turns out the music business isn't all it's hyped up to be. He bails on the fame, goes back to his quiet life with the Borders, and honestly, he's way happier just chilling with his friends. Enter Casa Paradiso. Grandpa Phil hits his limit with the never-ending chaos at the boarding house, gets seduced by a fancy retirement place. Arnold reminds him that home isn't about marble countertops or free bingo. So Phil ditches the deluxe digs and sticks with the good old mess he knows and loves. Gerald's tonsils is a full-on anxiety spiral. Gerald finds out he needs his tonsils out, freaks about losing his voice. Arnold calms him down, and he survives, even if he sounds weird for a bit. Moral, hospital freakouts are totally normal, but you'll probably come out fine. In Arnold's room, Arnold's friends storm his attic hideout, which is packed with all his weird inventions and personal stuff. They trash something important, feel guilty, and have to pitch in to fix it. Along the way, they get that Arnold's not just a daydreamer, he's actually a creative genius. Helga versus Big Patty is just pure playground drama. Helga mouths off to Big Patty, which lands her in a looming after-school smackdown. She struts around like she's not scared, but inside, she's losing it. When she finally just admits she's terrified, Patty actually respects her guts. Sometimes honesty beats fists. Who knew? Stinky goes Hollywood. Stinky lands a gig as a soda commercial icon, gets a taste of the celebrity life. It's fun at first, but Hollywood's not really his vibe. He bounces back to his regular, boring but cozy life and feels way more at home. Fame? Overrated. Then there's Olga Gets Engaged. Helga's golden child sister waltzes in, flashing her engagement ring and her perfect life. The fiancé's a total phony, and Helga is basically on a mission to prove it. She pulls it off. Olga's left, heartbroken, but a little wiser. Helga, not gonna lie, enjoys seeing her sister take a rare L. Curly Snaps is bonkers. Curly loses his mind over not being made ball monitor, locks himself in the equipment cage, and goes full-on hostage negotiator mode. Arnold, ever the peacemaker, talks him down. Curly's a wild card, but Arnold's cool head saves the day. In Preteen Scream, Helga and Phoebe hit a boy band concert. Helga talks big, mocking all the screaming fangirls, but by the end, she's right there with them, losing her mind. So much for being above it all. Turns out she's just as starstruck as the rest. In Grandpa's birthday, Grandpa Phil hits 81, and suddenly he's convinced he's doomed, like legit cursed, because apparently all the dudes in his family croak at that age. Arnold tries to calm him down, but Phil's totally spiraling until the doctor's like, "You're healthier than kale, man. You might live forever." Phil's reaction, weird mix of bummed out and relief. Then in Road Trip, Helga's stuck on this never-ending road trip from hell with her family. Her dad's a loon. Olga's all about herself, and her mum's spaced out. It's a mess, but there's this blink-and-you-miss-it sweet moment between Helga and her mum. Dysfunction? Oh, for sure. But there's love in that disaster too. Sid's revenge. Sid's convinced Principal Warts has it out for him, so he goes full voodoo with a soap doll. But then Warts actually starts having a rough time and Sid freaks, thinking he's cursed the guy for real. Guilt eats him alive until Arnold talks him into confessing. Turns out Warts didn't even suspect Sid. In Roller Coaster, Arnold and Gerald are sweating over the thunderclap roller coaster. Everyone's teasing them, but they finally get on and, afterwards, not scary, not even a little. They're pumped like they just survived a zombie apocalypse or something. The aptitude test. Helga aces an aptitude test, and suddenly everyone's treating her like the next Einstein. But the pressure, nah, she's not about that life. So she tanks on purpose, just to get back to being her tough, snarky self. Freedom over genius any day. In Oscar Gets a Job, Oscar finally has to get a job, but he's so lazy and slippery, he flops at everything. Except for like 5 minutes at an easy gig, gets a little respect, then goes right back to being lazy. Some things never change. Arnold betrays Iggy. Where Arnold, who accidentally exposes Iggy's bunny pajamas secret. Whole school finds out, Iggy's mortified, and Arnold feels like garbage. He makes it up to Iggy by humiliating himself, bunny pajamas and all, until they make up. Then, in Helga and the Nanny, Helga's parents bring in a nanny who's way too nosy. Almost discovers Helga's super creepy Arnold shrine. Helga goes full Home Alone to get rid of her, and peace and secrecy are restored. In Career Day, students are being paired with adults for shadowing. Arnold shadows a cop, Gerald tags along with a reporter, and Helga's stuck with her dad, Big Bob, who's basically the poster child for shady business dealings. Everyone learns adults kinda have it rough. Surprise! In Best Man, Coach Wittenberg wants to remarry Tish and ropes Arnold into being his best man. Wedding goes totally off the rails, as Jack was more focused on winning the competitions than marrying Tish. But on a later date, Arnold manages to get Jack's priorities straight, and he lets Tish win the rematch and they get married happily. In Cool Party, Rhonda decides to host this cool kids-only bash, basically giving the cold shoulder to anyone with a whiff of geekiness. Arnold shows up, thinks it's a snooze fest and bounces. Next thing you know, he's blacklisted as a geek too. But instead of sulking, Arnold flips the script and throws a wild rooftop party for the so-called outcasts at his place. Turns out the geeks know how to party way harder. The music's bumping, everyone's having a blast, and suddenly the cool crowd starts sneaking in, ditching Rhonda's stiff event. Even Nadine, who's supposed to be Rhonda's BFF, ditches her, pointing out that Rhonda's now a party of one. Reality check hits hard. Rhonda finally swallows her pride, crashes Arnold's bash, and straight up admits she wants to be a geek tonight. In Arnold and Lila, Helga's out here, painting her feelings all over some random alley wall. She scrawls, "Arnold loves Helga," but then the crew's coming, so she panics and switches it up to "Arnold loves Lila." Total cover-up. Of course, Lila walks by, spots her name, and gets all fluttery, convinced Arnold's secretly into her. Arnold's just standing there trying to explain like, "Whoa, that wasn't me." But here's the kicker. Arnold starts to wonder if maybe, just maybe, the original message wasn't too far from the truth. Arnold's Thanksgiving. Arnold's class is putting on this big Thanksgiving play, but honestly, the whole thing's got Arnold in knots, as his family celebrates the 4th of July instead. Helga's not exactly Team Turkey either. Her family's all about those uptight, musty traditions, and surprise, she's stuck with a pile of chores. The play wraps up, and Mr. Simmons goes full heartfelt moment with some speech about gratitude. Sweet! But both Arnold and Helga bounce. They end up running into each other, and because, hey, misery loves company, they crash Mr. Simmons' place. Turns out his family's a mess. Bickering, drama, the works. Still, Simmons is just happy to have them. Arnold and Helga get a clue. They trudge back home, feeling a little less salty. Helga's family practically tackles her with hugs. They were worried sick. And Arnold, he walks in to find his ragtag bunch of boarders have thrown together a legit Thanksgiving feast, fireworks blasting and all. And then there's the flood. School's underwater. Chaos everywhere. But Arnold keeps it together, rallying the troops until they're rescued. Kid's basically a tiny superhero. Next up, part-time friends. Arnold and Gerald get a job at a flower shop, but Gerald immediately turns into Little Boss Man. They end up arguing, friendship over, or so it seems. Arnold's got this nightmare about them staying mad at each other forever, dying old and bitter. That snaps him out of it, so he patches things up. Turns out, working together is better than letting egos run wild. BioSquare is a science project gone wild. Arnold and Helga have to spend a night together in a greenhouse. They bicker over everything, food, sleeping arrangements, until things get so messy they nearly flood the place. Still, they present their project to the class as a lesson in teamwork. Underneath all the fighting, there's a weird sort of connection. In Phoebe Takes the Fall, Helga stumbles onto this one contest where Olga's not already crushing the competition. Naturally, Helga's desperate to snag a win for once, so she straight up asks Phoebe to throw the game and let her have it. But then her guilt starts eating away at her, and she flips, deciding Phoebe actually deserves the win. Pig War. Grandpa's rocking his ancient army get-up, rambling to Arnold and the gang about some wild pig war from back in the day. Before anyone can bail, he ropes them into this annual reenactment circus, Abner the pig included. They all get shipped off to Elk Island, where they square off against the British team, which is, surprise, run by this total snob, Rex Smythe Higgins, and his mini-me grandson. Things get dicey when the Brits kidnap poor Abner and start plotting to make him tonight's entree. Arnold kind of loses it. He even tries sneaking in with this ridiculous Trojan pig plan. But plot twist, Rex III actually grows a conscience and teams up with Arnold to save Abner from becoming pig stew. Grandpa, meanwhile, is already hyped for next year's rematch, but Arnold just wants to forget the whole experience. So in Krabby Author, Arnold and Gerald go on this wild goose chase to find Agatha Caulfield, their literary hero, except when they finally meet her, she's basically the queen of Grumpy Town. But Arnold, kid doesn't give up. He keeps pestering her, wearing her down bit by bit until her icy shell cracks and she actually picks up a book again. In Rick Kid, Lorenzo rolls up to PS118, all buttoned up and living by his colour-coded planner. The dude barely knows how to have a good time. It's all violin lessons and scheduled recreation. Arnold, being the resident nice guy, tries to show him how to just be a kid. Play a little, maybe laugh at something dumb. But man, Lorenzo's hopeless at first, can't even figure out tag and a knock-knock joke. Eventually, Arnold just gives him a nudge into a mud puddle. Mud everywhere, schedule ruined, and Lorenzo cracks up. He finally gets it. Being a kid's supposed to be messy. He actually has fun, thanks Arnold, and decides, yeah, I'm sticking around. Girl trouble! Arnold gets tossed into a group with Gerald, Phoebe, and Helga for this Lewis and Clark thing at school. Helga's acting all tough, but inside, she's stoked to be paired with Arnold. Of course, she can't just say that, so she keeps poking at him until Arnold loses it. Next thing you know, there's paint everywhere, and the whole squad's stuck in detention. Arnold tries to smooth things over with an apology, but Helga just brushes him off, classic Helga style. Still, you can tell she's low-key, eating herself up over it. Off to the side, Grandpa's cracking up, telling stories about how he got into the same kind of trouble as a kid. In school dance, Arnold gets stuck with the job of booking the tunes for the school dance. He ends up bringing in Dino Spumoni, who's basically a has-been crooner, clinging to his glory days. Dino shows up, depressed, and belts out this gloomy farewell ballad. The kids just about riot, it's that bad. Arnold pep talks Dino out of his midlife crisis and tells him to play the hits. Next thing you know, Dino's back on stage, cranking out the old classics, and suddenly everyone's dancing. The night's a hit, Dino's ego is patched up, and turns out his music's still got some juice left after all. Finally, in school play, Arnold's munching on his sandwich, casually tells Helga that he feels Helga is actually secretly nice. Fast forward, Mr. Simmons bursts in, all jazzed about the school play. It's Romeo and Juliet. Arnold's roped into playing Romeo and Rhonda snags Juliet. Helga, fueled by jealousy, starts plotting. She manages to remove all the other competition before finally spills her heart out to Lila. Lila bows out. Opening night's a circus, naturally. Stuff goes wrong, but Helga, she nails it, then plants a dramatic, straight-up 15-second smooch on Arnold. Crowd goes wild. Mr. Simmons finally gets his teacher mojo back, and Helga, oh, she acts all grossed out by the kiss, but inside, she's practically doing cartwheels. Girl got what she wanted.
It's a harmless schoolyard prank, but let me assure you, it is not. Someone could put an eye out.
Because of mooning?
Season 4. The season starts with full moon. Arnold's just heading to this boring assembly when he stumbles across Harold, Stinky, and Sid scheming in the shadows. Turns out they're about to moon Principal Warts. They pull it off, masks and all, but Warts thinks it's Arnold. The dude gets slapped with a month of detention just because he won't rat out his buddies. Even with Warts breathing down his neck and basically inventing new ways to make Arnold's life miserable, the guy doesn't crack. Stinky and Sid? Guilt's eating them alive. But Harold, stubborn as a mule, he's hanging on till the bitter end, but yeah, the guilt avalanche finally gets him too. On the last possible day, all three come clean, and Arnold's off the hook. In Student Teacher, Olga waltzes back from college and drops the bomb. She's going to be the new student teacher for Helga's class. Olga's out there, embarrassing her in front of everyone, slapping her with detention, and unknowingly wrecking every single revenge plot Helga tries to pull off. Arnold is smitten with Olga and nudges Helga to just talk to her sister already. So Helga finally snaps and spills, being forced together like this. It's just making things worse, not better. Turns out all Olga wants is a real shot at being sisters. Helga thinks for a second and throws out a wild idea. Maybe some space is what they both need. She even talks Olga into teaching in, get this, Alaska. At the airport, Olga heads off sad, yeah, but there's a glimmer of hope in her eyes. Down the line, Helga actually sits down and writes her a postcard. And for once, she signs it, Love Helga. Guess she really does care after all. Big Gino. So Sid's in trouble with Big Gino. $50 in debt because he sold chocolate on credit and, like a genius, blew all the cash on toys. Not his finest financial moment. Gino catches wind and starts breathing down Sid's neck, talking all tough. Arnold, being the stand-up guy he is, helps Sid work off what he owes. Shockingly, Gino actually likes Sid's hustle and ropes him into the crew. Sid starts acting like a mini Gino, pushing people around, getting way too into the whole tough guy thing. Arnold's like, Gino is not your buddy. And Gino hears every word. Gino decides to put Sid on a test, tells him to give Arnold a swirly. Sid finally grows a spine and refuses. Calls Arnold his real friend. Now Sid's the one getting a swirly. Arnold doesn't hold it against him. Sid's embarrassed, probably smells like toilet water, but honestly, huge relief. He bails on Gino's crew, figuring real friends beat fake gangster nonsense any day. Then in Jamie O in Love, Gerald's about ready to lose it with his jerk of a brother, Jamie O, when, out of nowhere, the guy turns all good. We're talking chores, pies, gifts. It's honestly suspicious. Turns out Jamie O's down bad for some girl named Charisse. Turns out she's a total snake, clowning him behind his back and milking his kindness for all it's worth. Arnold's like, dude, you gotta tell him. But Gerald? Nah, he's vibing with the new, improved Jamie O. Not in any rush to bring back the old bully. Eventually, Jamie O just can't keep up the good guy act. He hits his limit and melts down. That's when Gerald finally spills the tea. Jamie O's in full denial mode at first, but then he catches Charisse bragging about her little scam. Stings like hell. But Jamie O actually thanks Gerald for having his back. He swears he'll try not to be a jerk, at least sometimes. And hey, to prove it, he takes the boys out for ice cream.
1 minute, Mom. I need to talk to you.
You need me for a minute, Mom. Well,
In The Beeper Queen, Big Bob injures his back, and suddenly Miriam's running his beeper shop like she was born for it. Nobody saw that coming, least of all Bob. She's crushing it, actually. Gets all this confidence, ditches the booze, and even hangs out with Helga for real. But you know how it goes. All that success kind of goes to her head. She gets so wrapped up in the business grind, she totally ignores her kid. Again, it hits her hard after she brushes Helga off on camera. That's her wake-up call. She finally bails on the shop to focus on her family. When Bob's back is patched up, Miriam hands over the keys. And honestly, she's a whole lot more tuned in. Guess she needed the chaos to figure herself out. Oscar can't read. Oscar's illiteracy secret blows up right in his face when Arnold catches him bumbling through a book. Ernie? And Mr. Hyun? Yeah, they roast him pretty hard. Desperate, Oscar tries to play it cool by memorizing a chunk of A Tale of Two Cities, thinking he's slick. Spoiler, not slick at all. The jig is up. Embarrassed to the max, he swallows his pride and straight up asks Arnold for help. They hit the library, grind it out, and Oscar actually learns to read. Next thing you know, he's strutting his stuff, showing the other boarders he's not just a freeloader. Honestly, kinda wholesome. Dinner for 4. Helga's on a mission to impress Arnold with her so-called sophistication, which, let's be real, is already a mess waiting to happen. She ropes in Arnold, Gerald and Phoebe for some fine dining at Chez Paris, except her coupon's actually for some other place entirely. Not wanting to look like a complete disaster, she just keeps piling on food, hoping no one notices her stalling harder than a bad actor in a school play. Then, in peak what the heck Helga fashion, she sets loose a bunch of cockroaches to try and escape paying the bill. Arnold talks her down and gets her to own up. So, yeah, they all end up scrubbing dishes in the back. Honestly, Arnold tells her that was the most sophisticated thing she could have done. Irony much. Phoebe skips. Phoebe gets bumped up to 6th grade because, she's basically a genius. Helga, not buying it. She goes on a wild hunt for some fresh sidekick material. Meanwhile, the older girls in 6th grade see Phoebe as easy pickings. She's stuck doing their dirty work, faking signatures, running lunch errands, slaving over their homework. Classic mean girl move. Then, boom! They toss Phoebe aside the second a shinier genius shows up. Crushed, Phoebe comes crawling back to Helga, who finally drops the tough act and admits she's not just some backup, she's her best bud. Honestly, kinda sweet.
No one will be there. Nobody goes to bed around here. They've been playing Parcheesi all night.
Helga's parrot. Helga's pouring her tortured little heart into a sappy love poem for Arnold. And guess who's eavesdropping? Not a nosy sibling. Nope, it's her dad's obnoxious parrot who memorizes it. Now, Helga's in full panic mode. She's chasing this feathered snitch all over town, breaking into Arnold's place like some lovesick ninja and literally crawling around inside the walls. Things just spiral from there, and at one point, the damn bird's about to spill the whole romantic mess in front of the class. But then, out of nowhere, Phoebe's monitor lizard goes full Jurassic Park and chomps the parrot mid-recital. Crisis averted. Helga's secret's safe. The parrot's gone.
We got enough money to pay off the campfire lasses? Yeah!
Chocolate turtles! Arnold and Gerald, desperate for some go-kart cash. Figure, why not sell a few boxes of campfire lass chocolate turtles? Easy money, right? Except Timberly goes full goblin mode and devours all 40 boxes. Total chaos. They freak out, scramble to make some DIY turtles that look like sad melted blobs. It's a disaster. Arnold's like, dude, let's just come clean. And honestly, what else could they do? They confess, bracing for doom, but people actually feel bad for Timberly and start tossing them donations. Wild, they pay the lasses back, crisis mostly averted. Arnold finally admits he never wanted to be part of this sugar hustle anyway. And Gerald, well, he's just relieved the turtle nightmare is finally over.
And I haven't moved in weeks. I can barely lift my arm.
Weighing Harold. So Harold demolishes 50 Mr. Fudgy bars in a single sitting. And the next thing you know, people are making fun of him for being chubby. Kinda brutal. He gets all self-conscious and signs up for this so-called fitness cruise, hoping to drop some pounds. He actually puts on even more weight. Harold basically goes into hiding, feeling miserable, until he finally spills to Arnold that all the fat jokes and teasing just made him eat more. Arnold, being the solid friend he is, reminds Harold he was fine with himself before all this nonsense started. That pep talk actually gets through, and Harold decides, screw the haters. He's going to get back to feeling good about himself on his own terms. In Back to School, Arnold goes to Grandpa Phil for some math backup. But the minute-long division pops up. Phil freaks out, turns out. The guy never even finished 4th grade thanks to the whole Great Depression mess. Arnold, being the stubborn optimist he is, pushes Phil to head back to PS 118. Grandpa actually crushes it, breezing through the grades like it's nothing. But then 6th grade hits, and suddenly Phil's got this whole bad boy routine going on, skipping homework, stirring up chaos, you name it. He nearly gets booted from school before Arnold steps in and smacks him, metaphorically, with some sense. Phil finally wises up, fixes his act, and walks away with his diploma, looking all proud and sheepish at the same time. Next up, the egg story. Mr. Simmons comes up with this completely crazy assignment. Basically, everyone's got to babysit an egg for a whole week. Arnold gets stuck with Helga, and Rhonda's with Harold, who's probably the last person you'd trust near breakfast food. Helga, she's jazzed. Arnold, not so much. He's already laying down ground rules like he's prepping for the Egg Olympics. But Helga leaves the poor egg on the bus. Next thing you know, everyone's running around searching. Meanwhile, Harold somehow manages to cook Rhonda's egg. He literally fries the assignment. Then he tries to glue it back together, which, yeah, goes about as well as you'd expect. In the end, Arnold and Helga, after all the chaos, kind of make up. They lose track of their egg, find it again, and it hatches. Suddenly they've got an actual chick, not just a dumb egg. Monday rolls around. Mr. Simmons is all smiles, handing out gold stars for teamwork, which is hilarious, considering how much yelling went down. Arnold and Helga can't help but throw a few jabs at each other. But you know there's a soft spot under all that snark.
Get my hands on that Helga. She's gonna be sorry she was ever born.
Deconstructing Arnold. Sid, Rhonda, Harold and Stinky can't help themselves, pulling pranks left and right, even though Arnold's basically waving a giant red flag telling them to quit it. Of course, Helga eggs them on, and surprise, every single prank blows up in their faces. Poor Eugene ends up in the ER, Curly goes full stalker mode over Rhonda, and Sid trashes Lorenzo's phone. Way to go, team! Arnold just nopes out, not interested in bailing anyone out this time. So Helga steps in with advice so bad it's almost impressive. Things spiral even more. Eventually, guilt chews her up enough that she begs Arnold to come back. He does, drops some hard truths, and somehow the crew starts patching things up.
It's Bill. Oh, Arnold, do you know how to play golf?
Not really.
Grudge match. Grandpa backs his car right into Big Bob's ride. Not a little scratch either. Of course, Big Bob loses his mind. Next thing you know, these two grown men are acting like kids, throwing down a golf bet. Loser coughs up for both busted cars. Grandpa, he's a total newbie, hands shaking, about ready to just bail. Arnold steps in, gives him the pep talk, and suddenly Grandpa's binge-watching the most boring golf tutorial ever filmed. Miraculously, it works. Game day rolls around, nerves everywhere, and somehow Grandpa pulls off a win by a hair. On the way out, Grandpa smacks Bob's car again. He just shrugs and goes, "Tennis next?" polishing Rhonda. Rhonda struts around in her fancy Italian boots, acting like she owns the place, until she bumps into Big Patty, and things get messy. Next thing you know, both of them get shipped off to some finishing school. Patty? She's acing it, charming everyone left and right, while Rhonda's catching stares for being, Well, kinda selfish. Panicking at the thought of flunking, Rhonda picks up some manners from Patty, not that she'd ever admit it. Fast forward to graduation, and Rhonda snags the valedictorian spot. But the real moment, she finally stands up for Patty at school, owns up to their friendship, and maybe, just maybe, grows a heart.
Appreciated if you could be nice to him and just try to like him.
I collect lint.
Weird cousin. Arnold basically gets his heart stomped on when Lila tells him she's just not that into him, friend-zoned. As if that's not awkward enough, his weirdo cousin Arnie rolls into town, and suddenly Lila's got stars in her eyes for the new guy. Helga, ever the fountain of bad ideas, tells Arnold to act like he doesn't care. Doesn't work though. Lila won't give Arnie the time of day. Then, plot twist, Arnie dumps Lila out of nowhere. Because, get this, he's actually into Helga. The room's left spinning, especially poor Arnold and Helga. Baby Oscar. Susie's cousin dumps her baby, Oscar, on Susie and her husband, who, let's be real, is about as useful as a chocolate teapot. Susie's all hands-on, doing the actual parenting, while Mr. Selfish over here can't even be bothered to make himself a sandwich, let alone help with the kid. At some point, he gets stuck alone with Oscar and, in a rare twist, sort of connects with the baby until there's a weird noise and he freaks out, thinking it's an emergency. Off to the hospital they go. Turns out, just hiccups. After all that drama, the guy slips right back into being useless, but the baby, weirdly enough, kind of likes him anyway.
Oh, in the basement.
Have it your way, smart guy.
Grandpa's sister. Arnold's whole world gets flipped upside down when Grandpa's long-lost sister, Mitzi, just waltzes into the boarding house after like 7 decades of total radio silence. These two? Instant chaos. They're pulling pranks, bickering like kids, basically turning the place into a sitcom. Arnold's stuck in the middle of this sibling circus, scratching his head until he finally figures out what's really going on. Way back, both of them never got over losing their childhood pup, Pooter. Turns out it wasn't anyone's fault, just an accident. Once that comes out, all that old bitterness just kind of melts away. Suddenly they're swapping stories, laughing about the old days, and they actually go fishing together like nothing ever happened. Synchronized swimming. Coach Wittenberg basically ambushes Arnold and the guys, signs them up for synchronized swimming. The thing they all say is too girly for them. They're flailing around, looking ridiculous, and just about ready to peace out. Then Jack, out of nowhere, drops some sappy childhood story that kind of hits home for everyone. Next thing you know, they're busting out this wild Western-themed routine. The crowd eating it up. They snag first place, and turns out being a little sensitive and working together totally pays off. In Helga Sleepwalks, Helga crushes a bag of pork rinds, and suddenly she's got a one-way ticket to dreamland, except she's actually wandering all over town like a lovesick zombie. She keeps showing up at Sunset Arms, teetering on the edge of spilling her secret obsession with Arnold. Honestly, it's a miracle nobody catches her mid-confession. Phoebe, being the MVP best friend, figures out the pork rinds are the culprit and yanks Helga back from the brink, literally, right outside Arnold's window. Helga dodges that bullet. Totally relieved Arnold stayed clueless and swears on her pink bow she's never letting her guard down again. Fighting families. Arnold gets roped into this wild game show called Fighting Families, dragging along Grandpa, Grandma, Ernie and Mr. Hyun. He's not exactly psyched, mostly because his family. Not exactly what you'd call normal TV material. Predictably, they start off a hot mess, arguing left and right, while the annoyingly flawless family wipes the floor with them. But then Arnold pulls them together, and boom, they crush the obstacle course quiz, somehow win tug of war, and end up celebrating in this messy, adorable group hug.
Pleased to meet you, Gerald.
Hello.
Did you know your father's a real hero?
In Veterans Day, Arnold and Gerald are just psyched for a day off. Veterans Day is basically free time in their minds. That is, until Grandpa and Mr. Johansson drag them to Washington, D.C. for a history lesson, old school style. Grandpa starts spinning this wild tale about the Battle of the Bulge, apparently. Some gross, spoiled food he'd lugged around actually helped the Allies win big. Arnold's like, yeah, right, but then there's a monument that backs up the whole story. On the flip side, Gerald's rolling his eyes at his dad's so-called desk job in Vietnam. Not exactly action hero material, right? But then they run into Private Miller at the Vietnam Memorial, a dude who straight up says Gerald's dad saved his life with some professional level first aid. Miller's grateful as hell, calls him a hero, and suddenly Gerald's sitting there like, whoa, maybe my old man's kinda cool after all. By the end, both Arnold and Gerald finally get it. Veterans Day isn't just an excuse to skip school. It's about real people, real sacrifices, big and small, stuff their grandpas and dads actually went through. They walk away with a whole new level of respect for the folks who came before them.
Man, I feel great. So clean.
Helga on the couch. Dr. Bliss, the new psychologist at school, starts keeping an eye on Helga. Because, let's be real, the girl's got some serious rage issues. Therapy kicks off, and Helga's all armour at first, playing it cool, acting like nothing's wrong. But hey, people crack, and little by little she starts spilling about her parents, basically ghosting her, always being stuck in Olga's shadow and just feeling alone as hell. Cue the flashbacks. Arnold is literally the only one who ever bothered to notice her. That's when the mushy part kicks in. Her secret crush lights up like a neon sign. Helga's fighting it tooth and nail, but finally she blurts out to Dr. Bliss that she's in love with Arnold. Bliss, being the total pro, tells her it's fine to take her time and even throws in some props for Helga's wild imagination. Helga walks out of there lighter, like a weight's been lifted. Still, don't expect her to start serenading Arnold or anything. She's back to her old tough girl act, hiding those sappy feelings like a champ. Then, in Dino Checks Out, Dino Spumoni pulls this wild stunt, fakes his own death. He figures maybe the mystery will bump up his record sales. Meanwhile, he's just hiding in Arnold's boarding house while the whole city's convinced he's haunting the place. But then, out of nowhere, this knockoff named Ray Doppel swoops in, steals not just Dino's fans, but also his giant house and even his ex-wife. That's gotta sting. Dino, not thrilled about any of it, starts getting all sorts of jealous. Arnold talks some sense into him, and Dino storms Doppel's big concert, spills the beans about the whole fake death thing, and totally owns the stage again, belting out a new song, winning everyone back like nothing ever happened. Monkey Man. Arnold gets saved from some jerks by Monkey Man, this mysterious guy in a cape. Arnold's all grateful and decides, yeah, he's got to thank him somehow. So he goes full detective, tracks down Monkey Man's hideout, and invites him over for dinner. Suddenly, Monkey Man is living the good life. Fancy food, soft chairs. Thing is, he gets too comfy and totally drops the ball when Sid gets mugged right under his nose. Monkey Man's eaten up with guilt, just stewing in it. Arnold gives him a pep talk, and Monkey Man sneaks out superhero style to bring back Sid's stolen boots. Redemption arc unlocked. In Helga's Masquerade, Helga's green-eyed monster kicks in hard when she sees Arnold swooning over Lila. She basically manipulates Lila into running this whole Operation Self-Improvement gig, hoping to outshine her. She flops, repeatedly. But Helga's not a quitter. She finally sneaks her way into Rhonda's costume party, straight up cosplaying as Lila. Yeah, it's weird. Arnold actually seems to dig hanging out with her. But Gerald's all, dude, you only like her because she looks like Lila right now. And then Arnold slips and calls her Lila to her face. Cue Helga ditching the whole charade. But hey, silver lining Arnold later admits he likes Helga when she drops the act and isn't awful. That tiny sliver of hope, enough to keep Helga going. Lastly, in Mr. Green Runs, Arnold and Mr. Green roll up on Councilman Gladhand about this massive pothole, and the guy feeds them the usual junk. Empty promises, big smile, no actual help. Fast forward, and the repairs are so insignificant. It's basically a comedy of errors, except nobody's laughing. The neighborhood's had enough and basically ropes Mr. Green into running for office, with Arnold somehow roped into being campaign boss. Mr. Green freaks out at first, public speaking, nightmare fuel, but then he just ditches the political spin and tells it like it is. People eat that up. The result? Gladhand gets totally beaten, hope shows its face again, and the block finally feels like change isn't just a word on a campaign sign.
That Olga's hanging around with someone else besides you for a change?
Well, I am happy, football head.
Season 5. The season starts with Sid the Vampire Slayer. Sid totally flips out over vampires after watching some horror flick, like full-on paranoia. Then he starts eyeballing Stinky, convinced the poor guy's suddenly turning into vampire. Why? Well, Stinky's acting kind of sus, dodging garlic, rocking this weird nightshirt, obsessing over some secret goat project, and for some reason napping in what looks way too much like a coffin. Sid's mind runs wild, so naturally he decides it's his job to take Stinky down, vampire hunter style. Arnold eventually swoops in, figures out there's nothing spooky going on, just Sid's brain overcooking things again. Sid finally gets it, his imagination's been running laps, but Stinky's last creepy chuckle leaves you wondering if there's more to the story. Big sis. Helga is absolutely freaking out about Olga coming back, because let's be real, whenever Olga's around, their parents practically throw a parade for her. Helga might as well be invisible wallpaper. And just when you think it can't get messier, Olga rolls in with a new little sis, Lila of all people. Yep, Helga's classmate, the queen of sweetness. Those two click instantly. Helga's so jealous she starts plotting sabotage style. She tries to ruin their fun, but every single scheme blows up in her face. Arnold catches on and nudges her to just spill what's really eating at her. Eventually, Helga cracks and admits she's jealous. Olga, ever the flawless big sister, assures her nothing could mess up their sister bond, even if Helga's basically fuming inside. So, things are kind of resolved, but Helga is still totally annoyed. Bag of money. Sid, Arnold and Gerald find $3,937 just lying around. Naturally, Arnold gets picked as the responsible one to keep it safe. Fast forward to the bus, where some eccentric old lady mixes up her stuff with Arnold's, so he ends up lugging around birdseed instead of the cash. When the three geniuses show up, ready to hand the money over, Sid goes full detective mode and basically accuses Arnold of being a thief. That rumour spreads like wildfire. Suddenly everyone's giving him major side-eye. Even Gerald's not so sure anymore. But then the old lady shuffles back in, cash in hand, and saves the day. Arnold's name cleared. Never trust public transportation, man. Principal Simmons. Harold stirs up trouble, which sends Principal Warts on some kind of insane punishment spree. Things get so wild, the superintendent finally steps in. Warts ends up quitting in a dramatic huff. Mr. Simmons takes over, and honestly, dude's way too soft. The whole school turns into a free-for-all. It's chaos. Arnold steps up and helps Warts realize you can't just rule with an iron fist. Gotta meet in the middle. So Warts comes back, order's sort of restored, and in the weirdest bro moment ever, Warts and Simmons celebrate the whole ordeal with karaoke. New bully on the block. Wolfgang snags the whole lot for himself, but then Ludwig waltzes back in, and you can practically see the sparks fly. Arnold, ever the peacemaker, suggests, "Hey, why not share?" but gets punched. Then comes this supposed football match, which winds up dead even. Weirdly enough, that's what finally gets the two bullies to team up and stake their claim together. Of course, that means the rest of the kids, totally left out in the cold. Phoebe breaks a leg. Helga's kinda a jerk to Phoebe, until Phoebe gets hurt. Boom, guilt trip for Helga. So suddenly, she's all nice to her. Phoebe's not dumb. She drags out the whole "ouch, I'm fragile" act to milk all that sweet attention. But karma's a thing. She ends up saving Helga, feels a guilt trip of her own, admits the truth, and friendship back to being more balanced. Helga's locket. So Helga finally gets that Arnold locket, engraved only for her to lose it. Then good old Grandpa Phil stumbles across it and just assumes it's some surprise present for him. Helga totally freaks out and goes on this wild, borderline unhinged mission to get the thing back. But honestly, things just spiral out of control. And then, as if this circus wasn't enough, Abner swoops in and snatches the locket again. Sid and germs. Sid used to rule the frog-catching scene. Then some cheesy hygiene documentary totally wrecks him. Suddenly the dude's scrubbing his hands raw, practically bathing himself in sanitizer. And he even ditches his prized frog, Sydney. Talk about overkill. Then he has this wild nightmare, the kind that just flips your brain inside out. And it finally knocks some sense into him. Nature's got its own rhythm, and Sid's got to roll with it. Next thing you know, he's back in the game and he takes the frog-catching trophy like a boss. Suspended. Harold thinks getting suspended is going to be some wild vacation. 2 days in and he's going crazy. Turns out, unlimited free time is just fancy talk for bored out of your skull. He tries a bunch of dumb plans to get back in school. Each one dumber than the last, just digging himself in deeper. Eventually, totally out of ideas and patience, he lays it all out for Principal Warts. Shockingly, that actually works. Warts cracks and lets him back in. Ernie in love. Ernie's got it bad for Lola, but the guy's hung up on being too short. Arnold, ever the hype man, basically shoves him onto a date. Lola's hung up on looks, but Ernie's not having it. He's all, listen, feelings over looks. Lola has a little light bulb moment, says sorry, and they hit reset and give it a real shot. Parents' Day. This episode really throws Arnold for a loop. Kid's got no mom or dad showing up. And then that jerk, Big Bob, comes swaggering in, tossing Orphan Boy at him like salt in a wound. Grandpa eventually just lays it all out. Turns out Arnold's parents vanished in San Lorenzo on some wild mission. Yeah, the truth stings pretty hard, but honestly, Arnold starts to get it. Grandma and Grandpa are the ones actually there for him. That's what counts, right? Summer love. Arnold goes on vacation and meets Summer, this girl who's all about chasing fame, but keeping it low-key. Meanwhile, Helga sniffs out the whole mess. Totally calls Summer out and rescues Arnold before he gets his heart stomped on. Then, as if things aren't already wild, Arnold and Helga somehow crush it at the sandcastle contest. And Helga, straight up, steals a sneaky kiss while filming an episode of Babe Watch. Stuck in a tree, Arnold's got his flying toy zooming around and it sails straight into a tree. He's about to go after it when, surprise, there's Eugene up there too, apparently forgetting he's terrified of heights. Arnold scrambles up to give him a hand, but big shock. Now they're both stuck up there together. What a pair. Rhonda goes broke. Rhonda struts around like she owns the place. Dripping cash, fancy clothes. Then her family goes bankrupt. Suddenly, she's packed into Sunset Arms, and let me tell you, she does not handle regular people problems well. Total fish out of water moment. Arnold steps in, and somehow she doesn't completely implode. Bit old Iron Man. Grandpa and Jimmy go at it again. This time in a triathlon, because why not? Honestly, it's a disaster from the jump. Injuries, tripping each other up. One of them almost ends up as fish food. They limp through the finish line, dead last, swear they'll quit acting like idiots. And 2 seconds later, boom, bickering all over again. Poor Arnold just stands there, looking like he'd rather be anywhere else. Phoebe's little problem, Phoebe bags this perfect attendance award, but then disaster. She lets out a fart straight into the mic. Talk about a nightmare. She's mortified. Won't even think about setting foot back in school. Arnold, though, gives her the whole face your fears pep talk. So Phoebe marches back in, guts it out, and nails a speech that basically says, yeah, that happened. So what? Then Harold, the class clown, starts making fun of her and ends up peeing his pants right in front of everybody. Suddenly, nobody cares about Phoebe's moment anymore. Married. Rhonda whips out her origami marriage game, and apparently Arnold and Helga are destined to tie the knot. Arnold looks like he just swallowed a bug, while Helga's over the moon. That night, Helga's out cold, but her brain's running wild. She's living her best life, all whirlwind romance, calling the shots, and even swooping in to save Arnold from Lila's annoyingly perfect clutches. Arnold doesn't get off as easy. Poor guy's dragged through a nightmare loaded with crying kids, endless housework, and Big Bob's beeper empire breathing down his neck. But hey, somewhere in that mess, Dream Helga actually lets her guard down, soft side and all. which shocks him awake. Next day, Arnold admits that, well, being hitched to Helga might not be the absolute worst thing ever. Later on, Rhonda's all, oops, guess my fortune teller was broken. But Phoebe's in the background, daydreaming about Arnold and Helga riding off into the sunset together. The journal. Arnold kicks things off with this wild dream. He's out there adventuring with his parents, Miles and Stella. Reality's way less fun, though. He wakes up and it hits him. October 5th. Not just any day, the day his parents vanished. Yeah, it sucks. He's so wrecked about it he can't even deal with his friends, so instead he starts putting away his parents' old stuff, just trying to keep it together. Then he finds this beat-up journal. Turns out it's his dad's. So he sits down with his grandparents, cracking open the journal, and finds his family history. His parents first met in this wild place called San Lorenzo, fell for each other hard, and started rolling up their sleeves to help a shady-sounding crew called the Green Eyes. We're talking ancient treasures, weird old curses, healing sick people. Eventually they get married, someone gives them Abner, and then Arnold shows up, right during a volcanic eruption. So yeah, not your average birth story. They go back to the suburbs, good old Hillwood, and do the parent thing as best as they can. But then, yep, disaster strikes back in San Lorenzo, and they rush off to help with a nasty outbreak. Promised they'd come back, but that didn't happen. These stories, though, they hit Arnold right in the heart. In between the heartbreak, he starts getting it. Why they did what they did. It's not much, but it helps. Then, just as he's about to close the book on it, he spots this crumpled old map. Something tells him his parents' last adventure isn't quite finished. Marvelous verdict, a truly evergreen show. Here's the thing with Hey Arnold, wrapping up. The saga of that football-headed kid, total time capsule. It wasn't like he was out there saving the universe. Arnold just sort of drifted through this scrappy, messy city, quietly being kind when nobody else was paying attention. He was basically the poster child for just a good dude, if that's even a thing. Let's talk about the crew. Helga, she's intense. But honestly, who didn't love her weird poetry and all those secret, mushy feelings? Gerald's the ultimate ride or die. And can we please give it up for the weirdos living at Sunset Arms? There's so much found family energy. It almost makes you wish your apartment building had a talking pigeon guy. Whenever stuff got tough, instead of all the answers dropping from the sky, Arnold and pals just muddled through, made mistakes, but kept going. It was almost too real sometimes. That whole deal with his parents, the journal, the suspense, the map. It's classic. Life gives you a new question for every answer territory. He wasn't chasing after clues like some little detective. He just wanted to know where he came from, you know? The best part? He grew up right in front of you. From clueless little kid to someone who finally gets that life isn't about solving every mystery. It's about sticking together and being decent, even if stuff's kinda confusing. So, yeah, Hey Arnold was never just some cartoon about a kid. It's all about hanging in there, looking out for your friends, and realizing love sticks around, even when people don't. The story ends with more questions than answers, which honestly pretty much sums up childhood, and let's be real, adulthood too. Arnold's final legacy? Don't be a jerk. Try to help out. And if you screw up, hey, at least you tried. If you want more such nostalgic cartoon throwbacks, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel to stay tuned for the upcoming ones.